Welcome to the Strong for Performance podcast, where we give coaches and consultants practical ideas for taking you to the next level in your business and in your life. I'm your host, Meredith Bell. I interview experts who've walked in your shoes and offer real-world experience that you can apply to your own journey. Welcome to another episode of the Strong for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Meredith Bell, and I am delighted to have with me today Keven Gazzara. Keven, welcome to the show.
Hi, Meredith. Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Well, I am especially excited about having you because of the wealth of information I know you're going to be sharing with my listeners based on your extensive experience, both in the corporate world and then 12 years having your own firm. Keven is the co-founder and senior partner at Magna Leadership Solutions, and they're based in Phoenix, Arizona. He and his partners provide business workshops, facilitation, assessment, and executive coaching services to large global companies that you're all familiar with, like Cisco and Qualcomm. And Keven spent 18 years at Intel Corporation, and during that time, he was involved in developing mentoring programs as well as management and leadership development programs, working in a lot of the areas that my listeners work in, Keven. The other thing that Keven has done is, he has so many things he's done. He is the author of a really great book on leadership called The Leader of Oz, revealing 101 secrets of marvelous leadership for the 21st century. And I've had a chance to read that book. It was just so well done as far as the principles that were presented and also the tie-in with all these different characters and elements from The Wizard of Oz. So that was great. On the academic side, Keven has a doctorate of management and organizational leadership, and he is on the faculty of four or five different colleges and universities?
Hard to keep track these days. I think five at the moment, something like that.
Five, teaching on leadership and organizational behavior. So needless to say, Keven is a very busy guy, and so I'm glad he made time to join us today because I know, Keven, you've got so much great information to share based on our previous conversations. But before we get into some of the tips that I know you can share related to growing your own firm, tell us a little bit about your journey from working at Intel to starting your own consulting firm.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Meredith. I really appreciate that. The journey has been just an exceptional one, but it was a planned journey. So I did all my undergraduate work in engineering, dual degree in engineering and business, and then did my MBA. And as you mentioned, went off and did my doctoral work when I was actually at Intel in organizational leadership. But my journey has been, it certainly hasn't been a linear journey of kind of what normal people would probably think of plotting things out when you're leaving high school and going through college and figuring out what things were. But it's been wonderful. I pretty much enjoy every day that I get up, having the opportunity to really contribute as well as, kind of give back has been terrific. And I spent 29 years, something like that, in the corporate world. But, when I was in my mid 30s, I had this plan, I call 15-year plan, to retire from the corporate world when I was 50. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that to start my second phase of life. And I wanted to gather the knowledge and experience, build my network and my connections, so that at 50 I could make the determination if I still enjoyed corporate world to stay, and if I wanted to go out and do something different, I'd have that opportunity. And I was fortunate to have great mentors, great coaches, a terrific network, and put the things in place and kind of stayed the course to make sure that I could get to where I needed to be. So when we started the firm in 2007, just a little after I was 50, that we were starting it in a way that we would be successful. So I guess the tip I would give everybody kind of listening is if you don't have a plan, you need to get a plan. And if you're trying to do it all on your own and you don't have a good coach or a mentor, a good financial advisor, good support from your family, good background and experiences, get a plan to do that because it's very possible. And I do a lot of coaching of individuals who are trying to make the transition. Many of those have at least a short-term plan, for 1 to 2 years. I have a couple in that phase, so we have to accelerate a little bit. But some have a little bit longer. And if I can get them to kind of experience what I've experienced, I think life will be grand. And also they can really make it better for the people where they're going to share their wisdom.
So you jumped out on your own, and tell us a little bit about how you found your first clients, because one of the things I do want us to explore today is this area of business development. Just so you know, many of my listeners are leadership coaches, consultants, service professionals who love delivering the service they provide, but they're not as keen on marketing and sales. And so you've had some successes and not such good successes over the years, as you've mentioned to me before. And I think that your experiences can really provide some great learnings and insights, and could accelerate development for some of the people who are listening to us. So tell us, let's go back at the beginning. What did you do initially to get your first clients?
Great. Well, terrific question. And that's really was my hope for today, is that I can hopefully give some of that insight to the people that are doing things that are similar for me. I've been part of NSA, the National Speakers Association, not the security agency, for about 12 years. And I love their philosophy, as a keynote speaker. But their philosophy is don't try to get a bigger piece of the pie, try to make the pie bigger. Right. And I think that was my hope for today, is that, we've had really terrific experience and success with starting a consulting firm. And if I can share that and help accelerate that for everybody else, even though if they're doing exactly the same thing I'm doing, there's plenty of work out there. So let's figure out how to make the pie bigger, because there's certainly a need for developing managers and leaders. So when we started the firm, to kind of lead into your question about, so what did we do? We met, my two original business partners and I all flew to Phoenix. We met in Phoenix. We put a business plan together. We tried to get Intel to extend. They had canceled some of the leadership programs that we had developed for whatever reason. And we tried to get them to shift that back and reverse their decisions. And we said, hey, if we can get them to reverse their decisions, we'll continue to contribute. We used to do the programs I've managed for first and midline program, residential programs. We would do 2,500 managers and leaders in 10 different countries every year. And when I retired or resigned from Intel, we had just finished training our 40,000th manager. So we got pretty good at it. It was a wonderful experience. And then they decided that they weren't going to offer that anymore. So we said, hey, I spent the last 6 years doing this very successfully. Let's go out and do that. But since I had a plan during this period of time, as I was getting ready for, Keven 2.0 or whatever you want to call it, I was doing all the things, and I'll share the things that I was putting in place that my mentor told me were needed, and then I'll give you the 5 things that were necessary in order to make the business successful. So
perfect.
So the first thing was I had a plan, as we mentioned before, right? And we stuck to the plan, and the plan included expanding my knowledge, which kind of said, okay, we got to go back and get some additional degrees and experience. And I got certifications and all kinds of other stuff while I was in the corporate world. So that was the first big plus. And I was very thankful for Intel for providing those things for me. They paid for my doctoral work and my research. I got certified by Peter Senge's organization to do systems thinking. I got certified for another dozen classes. I went, they sent me to conferences. I got to share the work that I was doing. Plus, I was doing leadership development, at the same time and delivering it. So getting good feedback. And at the same point in time, I was building my network and helping managers within the company get better. And the good news is that, I'd say probably half of those managers have left, either to go start their own businesses, but most likely, I'd say probably of the 50%, at least half, maybe three-quarters of them went to other big companies, and they remembered that, Keven and my programs helped them out, and they liked that. So I made sure we use, there's lots of different tools, but we use Constant Contact. So as I was working there, I was maintaining that. And then when we left, I had lots and lots of contacts of people that I had helped or organizations that I had helped that had moved on. So we just let them know, hey, we're hanging out our shingle. The kind of stuff that I do, or we do, the three of us do. And if be available to you, if you'd like to have a discussion, if we can help, no sales pitch. We don't do sales pitches. We're there to help you. So that was really some of the things we put in place. And then we are part of and we'll talk a little bit about this later about the different partnerships that we had done. But we're part of the Target Training International organization. So they provide lots of different assessments, emotional intelligence and DISC and values and task preferences and for benchmarking, and wonderful organization. They've been in business on 40 plus years or so. And we've been part of that since we started, and even a little bit before. And they have a network of about, I don't know what the current count is, maybe 8,000. They call them value-added associates or distributors that can sell their assessments. And we use their assessments extensively in our business. But the thing is the first tip would be is if you have a business and you're not associated with whether it's assessments or an association or whatever, that you want to do that because it gives you access to other experts. And what we also found out, not only do you get access to other experts, but you get access once they know the good work that you are available to do, is quite often they'll bring you in to partner with them. And that's really kind of, I think, the intent for today, right? What you said, how do you partner with other consultants? And the first thing is you need to find the other consultants. And if you're part of an organization, whether it's assessments or training or meetings or whatever it is, that you don't have to go out and try to find them, that you may have thousands of them at your fingertips. The key is once you're part of that network and that family, then your access to them is quite easy, and it doesn't feel like a sales pitch, particularly if you're going in with what we would call the servant leadership mindset, right? Is our philosophy at Magna Leadership Solutions for myself and all my partners is to try to help you. The money really is the byproduct and not the product. If we can help you be successful, we know from long-term experience that the benefits, or whether it's financial or engagement benefits, whatever, will follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've sensed that about you in our conversations. I can tell you light up when you're talking about the impact of the work that you do, that's where your real excitement and reward comes from. And I think that sometimes when people are just starting out, or you may have seen this in your own business, where it can be cyclical, where you can get a really good contract and then you're so busy delivering the work that the marketing and selling part kind of falls by the wayside. And then, as that contract is coming to an end,
yeah,
where's the next one coming from? So there is a bit of that, I call it cyclical uneasiness too, that goes with it, with people that haven't been able to have that marketing and selling happening at the same time as the delivery. How have you managed to balance the sides there that both need to be done?
Well, that's a great lead into kind of one of the notes that I have, which is, our original approach when we started in June 17th, 2007, was our original approach was to kind of do it all ourselves, right? That we were going to develop the content and so forth. Now, the good news is when I did my undergraduate degree in business and engineering, my business focus was marketing. So I've done marketing, so I have a bit of marketing, although I will tell you that my experience of coaching other people and working with other firms is, as you've pointed out, as most people, particularly people that have the content knowledge, don't like to do the marketing and sales, right? So of the three of us, when we started the firm together, we used to work on a daily basis, because we were in three different, one of my partners was in Portland, the other one was in Sacramento, I was here. So we used to do these video conference calls, every day to talk about what we're doing, what we're working on, and work collaboratively together. But the thing is that you have to have the 80-20 rule. And to start a business, you need to spend 80% of your time selling or promoting or engaging, whatever you want to call it. Most people don't like the selling kind of concept, but you have to do it. You have to spend 80% of your time there. So that we had a model that we said for every good client that we have to have 10 good clients, with the expectation that we're only going to get one out of the 10. So we always, as you had mentioned, sometimes you get a big purchase order, or you get a big contract or whatever, and you really get complacent. And our model has always been, is this could go away at any point in time, or there may not be follow-up to this. So if we've landed that one, and fortunately our capture ratio was really much better than 10%. It was probably 20 or 30%, but we always used kind of the 10% model to make sure that we had enough additional people in the pipeline, and we were not forgetting about doing kind of the sales and marketing, promotion, and so forth. And it's not so much that, it's keeping people warm, it's the touch points, it's helping people out as necessary, and you really have to have the long-term vision, because of the 5 elements for success, which I'll share in the next few breaths here, is that if you don't have that long-term vision and approach, you're not really setting yourself up for success. So we made a conscious effort to make sure that we were keeping our pipeline filled, in addition to doing the content work, because as experts, we all love to do the content work, right? We love to do the actual work with the clients and developing it and thinking about new ideas and strategies and building your portfolio. All of that's great. The thing that I found is that most consultants, because that feels natural and it's engaging and motivating, more motivating than a lot of the other stuff that would be kind of related to sales or whatever you want to call it, that it goes by the wayside, and then all of a sudden you're out of contracts, or you haven't landed your first contract, and then you people go back into the corporate world, or back into the old life that they have. And I think it's a little bit disappointing, because it feels like you've failed. So let me share the 5 things that I say that we found out that we needed for success. And we did lots and lots of, I'm a researcher, so we did lots of research before we pulled the trigger. We had planned on this exit from the corporate world for about 3 months. We actually were all working at Intel. We desperately tried to get them to fire us or give us a package or something. And we said, if we can't get them to do that, we'll pick a date, which was June 1st. And if we can't get them to do that, we'll just make the leap and, give up the security blanket with all of the paychecks and life insurance or health insurance and everything else that comes with it. And we did that, and it's always a little bit scary. But the thing is if you've done the pre-work, and it's usually several years of pre-work to do that, to make the transition, then you can be successful. So when we went to our value-added associates from TTI, I found the people, probably a dozen of them, that had made over $1 million in their business per year. Some of them had made $10 million. And I wanted to know, um, what do we need for success? And there were 5 things that came out consistently from these individuals. The first was, and these are no particular order, but they said you need a shtick. You need something unique material or approach, something that you do differently than everybody else. It might be a combination. For us, we were the tech nerdy engineer types, delivering training and development. So we had moved over from the quantitative to the qualitative side, and a lot of trainers don't have that. So working with product engineers, and I was fortunate enough, like at Intel, some of my clients that when I was a product manager were Microsoft and Apple and Cisco and Qualcomm and so forth. So I had that experience. So I can talk the bits and bytes, and training people like product managers or product engineers or designers or coders or whatever, they, as a trainer, they really develop a lot of respect because been there, done that, as opposed to, I can I can read the slides well, and also I can keep you entertained, right? So that was the first thing, the unique shtick. The second thing is they said, you need a hardcover book, right? You need that if you're going to be dealing with executives. You need to be able to hand them a hardcover book that demonstrates your expertise, and that's what we did, as you had said, right? The Leader of Oz book. Dr. Lacani and I had written that. It took us about 6 months. Had a great editor. We did self-publishing on it. As I mentioned earlier, we had some publishers were interested, but they couldn't get it out fast enough for us, so we wanted to get it out quickly. So we were able to do that. And of anything that we've done, that is probably the absolute best marketing tool ever. If you're going to meet with an executive, and you've probably found the same thing, if you're going to meet with an executive, being able to hand them a hardcover book, very tangible piece of material that demonstrates that you can write, and hopefully it's good. We think it's very good because it really talks about our processes and the stuff that we do. If you can do that, then then you have a better chance of them wanting to talk to you and getting some business. So that was the second thing. So the shtick, the hardcover book. The third one was social presence, right? That they said you have to have some social presence out there, right? So we are very active on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, the business page, as well as doing, we use Constant Contact, people use SurveyMonkey or whatever to just keep people warm. Here's what we've done. Here's some new articles. Here's an ebook that we have. There's a video conference that we're doing, or here's a webinar, et cetera. So we just keep information there out in the marketplace, so it maintains our presence. The fourth item was being well capitalized. They all said the same thing. You need to plan on not making any money for 18 to 24 months. You have to be able to say, I'm willing, if you do get anything, think of it as a windfall, right? And because most consultancies go out of business right in that time, because the finances have really taken over. And if you don't have enough money, because you're really looking at it as an investment in yourself and your company, if you don't have that, the pressure gets very, very strong. A couple of people I've been coaching recently, they said, yeah, I can probably last for 6 months, and then after I'm gonna have to look for a job. Getting this kind of business where you're not just selling widgets or whatever, and you're really selling relationships is difficult. So we were all well capitalized, and we could handle that. And pretty much for us, we got a few windfall projects that happened in the first 19 months. But our first really big PO came in, it was a several-year contract, came in right around 19 months. And I remember the 18-month call with everybody else where my other partners were like, oh, is this a good idea? And are we going to make that? And I said, hey, we've got 10 clients in the pipeline. One of those should hit. And fortunately, one did. And then short time after, some of the others hit, but we kept the pipeline going. And then the last thing was, which was kind of the aha moment after we got into this, was the importance of your network. So I had done a good job. I forget what my LinkedIn is. It was probably 1,500 people or so at the time when we left. And I had we've probably got about 5,000 people in our network that we do mailings to on a regular basis. But we had this network of people that we had met, or I had done work for at Intel that I knew, that we could send articles to, we could ask if we could help them, but we weren't selling to them. We were just letting them know. And that really was pivotal for us to be successful. But here's what we learned, which was a surprise. What we realized, probably not soon enough, but probably about a year into the business, is that we needed to mine the network differently. That our mental model was that we were capturing or going after end users, the clients, and there were other people in the network that we could help and partner with, where we could help them extend their business, as opposed to where they could give us business. So using kind of the servant leadership model, rather than just thinking about making money, we were thinking about, excuse me, how do we partner with those people, excuse me, and those people really made the difference to explode our business. So I'll tell you the story, unless you have a question at the moment, because I've been yakking for quite a bit here.
Yeah, no, the 5 points that you just made, I think were really critical. Let's just kind of recap them before we jump into this really key concept that you have. The first one to me is the differentiator piece, identifying who is it that you naturally connect with and can talk to, the way you did with your developers and engineers. I think sometimes it's true that when we're, especially feeling the need for getting business fast, it's like,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do anything for anybody, right?
You can't do that.
In reality, it works so much more effectively to be very clear about who you best relate to, who you best serve. So you focus on those folks, so you and they are more comfortable with what you're doing. So I just felt like that was really important to emphasize again. And of course, I agree with you totally about the idea of having a book that you can hand to someone so they can see, because of all the different things it conveys with a single object.
Right. And as you know, I mean, it's much easier to do than you would think. I think a lot of people don't recognize how easy it is to actually write a book. I mean, it's certainly a lot of work, but if you're generally successful in business and you have the discipline, even if you're not an exceptional writer, there's always resources that you can tap into to help you.
That's a very good point. And then your other three with the social presence, it's rare for someone to say, I'm not on social media at all, right, and not connect. I'm a huge believer in LinkedIn because of all the people that I've connected with over the years. It's just been amazing, the introductions and the strength of those relationships. Going in there, though, one of the things I love about your underlying theme of those three, not so much on the being capitalized, but definitely on the fifth one, the network, is this whole idea of how can I provide value to others without necessarily expecting them to reciprocate? Because when you attach strings to it, they feel that. And it makes a big difference. So one of the things I want to cover after you talk about these relationships that you built, because I think that's really important, is what kind of value, or maybe it's a part of this, what kind of value were you able to deliver to, let's say, these potential partners that you were able to offer additional services to? So just tie in the value piece as you talk about that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll be glad to do that, because I'm going to talk about the three partnerships that we've developed, and how that's really helped us, and how we did that mind shift from focusing on going after the purchaser to doing the partnering. Because I think the big thing that we learned was that many of the other, if you do the partnership, two things happen. One, you get access to their clients, right? Not to steal their clients.
Right.
They've done a lot of the spade work in order to get there. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is you really have an opportunity to help them to expand their value that they provide to clients. And I think that was the big thing. A good portion of the people, some of the people that I end up coaching, their approach has been is to go find other consultants or other people that they know or they want to connect with, and they want them to give them work, right? Like, I'm available, I've got this great experience, I have all this education and background and knowledge and so forth. Hire me and I'll come in and do a great job for you. I found that generally people that have that approach, and I get probably one of those calls a month, right, where people want to do that, and whether it's one of my doctoral students that's graduated, or a client, or someone that's been let go, or a friend of a friend of a friend, I probably get at least one of those calls. I had one of those calls yesterday of, by the way, I'm not employed anymore, and I need your help, and how do I do it. But the tendency is to go after the people that have these successful consulting or successful businesses, and ask for work from them. And I think that is a major error. And we don't do that. We never go and ask for work from them. We ask, how can we help, build your value and grow your business. So let me tell you the three quick stories, if this is a good time to do this.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I'll tell you how we did it with three of our partners that we partner with. The first one happened early on. Well, let's talk about the TTI, Target Trading International. We'll talk about that one as the first one. They have these 8,000 or so people. We use their assessments. They actually purchased. I created an assessment when I did my doctoral work on task preferences and kind of aligning your work so that you're motivated. And they do that. In fact, if you want the end of the session, I'll give you a link, and if you want as a gift to your viewers, you can give them the link, and they can get the assessment for free. Once again, there's no selling. It's just, I'll just give it to you
That's perfect. Yeah, we'll add that to the show notes page.
Okay, great. So just remind me at the end. I've got the URL in here. I can send it to you, or we can just state it at the end as a closure. But because these people were doing very much of what we were doing, many of them they already had the big client connections that we wanted, but we wanted to learn about what they needed, and our expertise is around management, leadership development, team development, motivation, keeping people motivating, engaging. But many of these people were, have expertise in accounting software, or developing we're just escaping the city governments and those type of things. That's not an area of expertise of ours, and they were much more around process and strategic planning and development, and that's great. That's not what we love to do. But as you can imagine, when they do all of that, that leads to something else, and they may not have the next version. So we can partner with them. We did a lot of co-branding and so forth. So So that happened through a lot of the value-added associates, right? So we make ourselves a resource for them. So we've gotten reasonable amount of business through that particular network. But I think the windfall one was I was speaking at a conference in Silicon Valley for a big client that we were desperately trying to land. But they said, well, we have a sales conference. Can you come and do a keynote speech on leadership? And of course, I'm going to do that for them because we're trying to land their contract. And as it turns out, we did land the contract within a couple of months after that, which was our first big 19-month contract. When I was up there, I did my leadership talk, and as I was coming in to do my talk, a gentleman by the name of Alan Vengel, Vengel Associates. Alan is known for the Influence Edge and the negotiation focus program. And those were courses I had taken at Intel 20 years before, and they still stuck with me. So we literally ran into each other in the doorway. He had just finished his talk, and I was coming in to follow up on there, and he didn't know that I had left. I didn't even know he was still teaching after 20 years, but he was. And I said once again, thinking for the future, hey, let's connect. So we literally just in 30 seconds shared our cards, and I said, I'll give you a call. So I did my talk. When I got back, I called Alan and I said, hey, your program was one of the most memorable ones that I had done at Intel, and we don't do influence and negotiation. That's not our expertise. We do more leadership management, team development kind of things. And he said, oh, that's really good to know, because he had been in business almost 30 years and had developed these huge contracts, and he was booked forever, way more booked than he needed to be, or he wanted to be, because he had a kind of a 10-year window to retire, which he did. And he said, we have clients that have been asking us, and we don't have anywhere to turn them to. Would you partner with us? And I said, I'd be glad to partner with you. So we partnered with Alan back probably in 2008. We augmented his offerings with ours. And the interesting thing that happened is because he didn't want to travel as much, and a good portion of his clients were here in Phoenix, I can drive to them. He said, how about I just train you on our programs, right? So I basically went, when he was here in Phoenix, I went and shadowed him, and he did the train the trainer, and I got certified on his programs. So when he would book a program around the country or even around the world, we got some good opportunities as well overseas, rather than sending him to do one workshop and me to do the other workshop. I just did all the workshops. And I offered to him and his organization, hey, if you want to learn our stuff the same way, I'm glad to do the trainers for you. Whatever we can do to help. He said, I got more business than I need. I don't on that, and that's not my passion. So we worked with him probably for 10 years, and then Alan retired and sold the business off and so forth. But it was a great run. We helped him out. We helped their customers out, and that was a big success for us. So, and once again, we just went into it from a servant leadership mindset of not how can we get any work from you, is how can we help you build your business, and we help them really build this business and solidify by adding more value, solidify his client's value. So that was the second one. So we had TTI, Alan Vengel, and then the third one that we partnered with probably about 5 years ago is right here in town in Phoenix and Scottsdale, with a group called Kaiser, and they're primarily it's a conglomerate, but they do mostly commercial real estate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I interviewed Jonathan Kaiser about it.
You did? Okay, great. Yeah. So so Jonathan decided to expand his business, and he brought in Mike Maynard, and from and Mike and I knew each other because he was providing assessments different than the TDI assessments in 2000 at Intel, and he found that my assessment I developed for my doctoral program worked really, really well. So when I left, Mike and I stayed in touch, and then he joined Kaiser 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know, something like that. And because he liked the stuff I had done, we had built a relationship. It's all about relationships, and I had offered to help him whatever he needed when they started up their I don't know what they officially call it, organizational development, coaching programs that they didn't have. They had access to the clients. They didn't have the content. So we had the content. So when he's doing business development, he has a suite of us of consultants like ourselves to tap into. So once again, they do a lot of the stuff that we don't like to do, which is the selling piece and so forth. And if we can augment the work that they're already doing with their clients for other things, then it just really builds a good, strong relationship for them. So that's been a fantastic relationship that we've had and partnership. So once again, not trying to replace anything and with them, and they have a whole portfolio of consultants, all with a little bit different spin. And sometimes for the big projects we work together. Sometimes for the smaller projects, they look at they bring several of us in and say who's interested, and the stuff that, as you mentioned earlier, we try to focus on the stuff that that's really with our shtick, our passion. And in fact, I had a client last week called and said, we've got this big project. This is what we want to do. It's really about organizational restructuring and, for a public utility kind of environment. And that's not my expertise, but I've got this great network. And I sent a quick note out to all the people in the network. And I said, hey, I have a client that they want this. It's a real contract. It's not for us. Who's interested? And then I sent them the information, and hopefully I've seen some of the copies. They've already made the connections. I don't know if they'll get the contract or not, but I'm just glad to help them. We don't take any money or do a percentage or anything like that. It's making the pie bigger, not getting a bigger piece of the pie.
And I really like that basic philosophy because it shows to me that whole abundance versus, the scarcity mindset, or looking at there's plenty for all of us, creative versus competitive. So I think what happens there is then and not being woo-woo, but I mean, you attract people who are similar, they sense who you are, what you're like, and you attract people who hold those same values. And so as a result of that, building that kind of network is really powerful. And I think the whole thing about looking for how you can help them, filling a gap that they might have, that makes a big difference to me in terms of the kind of questions that you ask when you're in a conversation with them, as opposed to here's what I want from you or what I would like from you, which is what you're hearing when you get these phone calls from people on a monthly basis. It has a whole different feel to it, doesn't it, Kevin? When you can sense right away, can't you, when somebody is approaching you about wanting something from you versus looking to make a contribution in some way.
Yeah, and it goes. I had done a webinar for. I teach at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and I, as an alumni, as a graduate, and also as a professor there, I had done a webinar on what I called your SCA, your Sustainable Competitive Advantage, and I'll give you the 30-second view. I'll send you a link if you'd like for the viewers, but But generally, when people give me these calls of like, hey, come and hire me, I can do this. I say, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And it's the same thing. I have this experience and here's my degrees and here's what I want to do and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I just listen to them. And at the end of every conversation, here's the question I ask them. Is the next person that calls me, what will they tell me that's different than what you just did? And usually the response is probably nothing different, right? So I want to know, what's your sustainable competitive advantage? What do you bring? And it may be a combination of things. Like, so for us, our SCA is, we're the nerd engineers that have made that transition, that have done deep doctoral research to basically show proof that we can make a change to help organizations quantitatively, and we can deliver it in such a way that it's engaging, right? And there's not a lot of, so that's, I'm certainly other people that can do that, but that certainly goes from, hey, we got a lot of experience and we got good training, so hire us, kind of thing, which is where it starts.
Well, and what I like about your nerd engineer piece is it really identifies who your target market is too, in terms of describing yourselves. You're relating to the people you most enjoy working with, right?
Yeah. Well, and surprisingly enough, I would say probably half of our clients are not the nerd engineers, right? They're not the technical people. We went after that, but we find that they've had good experiences and they refer us to other colleagues that they have that may not be in the technical field, but are having the same challenges, right? The good news is, from a management leadership perspective, there's lots and lots of problems and lots of industries out there. And the stuff translates whether you're doing it with a project manager or you're doing it with a, we have another client that's in a hospital and healthcare, right? That the problems are very similar. The foundational problems are the same. How they approach them is a little bit different, depending on whether you're taking more of a human resources approach or a technical approach.
Well, you're making a good point, and I'm just noticing we need to wrap up because we could keep talking. It's been so much fun. But one of the key things that you've said that I'm taking away for our listeners is it's important to start narrow initially so that you're clearly speaking to a specific audience. And once you do that, lots of opportunities are going to happen to allow you to expand to those other areas that you wanted to reach anyway. It's just that initially having that laser focus can be very beneficial in terms of communicating your message to that specific initial audience.
Yeah, and let me expand upon it because I think it's probably one of the most critical things from this talk is that having the narrow focus of what you do well and where you fit is the great entry point. As opportunities come up, just like we had found, where we can do the same type of thing, but for a different industry that has some of the same challenges, accepting those kind of opportunities is a good idea. I want to caution everybody listening here, just like what happened last week is, we had an opportunity from a friend of a friend of a friend or whatever from the network to do more work, but the work was not in our expertise. It was a different industry. Even if it was in the same industry, we don't take work that we're not the best fit for. We'd much rather give it to someone else. That way it keeps our motivation and engagement up. One other thing I thought about, Meredith, that I want to share with everyone that most people don't know, and it's been so wonderful for us. About 2 years ago, we hired a virtual assistant. She helped us out quite a bit with this. One of the things that we did about 1.5 years ago that's been a great surprising windfall for us is we've created a Google business page. I don't know about anybody listening, but our experience is very few people have a Google business page. You have a website, you have a social page, you're publishing on all the other social media things, but she said you need to build a Google business page. And I will tell you, if you go to Google and you type in Magna Leadership Solutions, you can see our page. Pretty much what we did is we took all the work we had done from a perspective of our other social media and our website and so forth, and we extracted that information. So it was really much more of a transfer. And we built the business page. We published to it on a regular basis, usually about every other week or so, put photos and get people to do reviews of the business and so forth. And I will tell you, we have gotten quite a bit of business that we normally wouldn't just by doing that. The advantage is it certainly pumps your status up on the Google searches without having to pay for massive Google ads. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that here's the magic. The magic is you have to have 5 good reviews. That's the first five good reviews. You have to have 5 reviews on there, right? It loves photos and videos and so forth. That pumps you way up, and they look for consistency. So you have to be not a lot of work. I've got a tickler on my Todoist file that just says post. So once a week, I just go in, I post a photo or an article or a link to an article, or I send a note out. Can you give us a review and so forth? And once you do that, it's amazing what happens, and people start finding you. And it's very little work, and it's completely free. So
what a great tip. Nobody else I've ever spoken to has ever brought that up. So that's a very good gold nugget that will be worth somebody's time to listen all the way through.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Wonderful.
Good, right.
So tell us, as we wrap up, where can people find you on social media? And remember to give us, and also about your company. And the third thing is that link you promised.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. So I'll give the gift to everybody that's managed to stay awake for the whatever much time we have done here for the hour. So you can find us in a lot of different ways. Like I said, we post. My first 45 minutes every day is to do research. So I go find articles or videos or whatever that are really good and useful if you're interested in management, leadership, team development, motivation, and engagement. Those are the areas that we excel in. So you can find us on Facebook. It's Magna Leadership Solutions, right? Just type in Magna Leadership Solutions. You can like our business page, and if you are on Facebook, you'll get a nice feed there. We're not going to spam you. We don't do. We may have an offer. We probably put an offer on there once a quarter or something, but we don't use use any of these as sales tools. It's really just helping. So you can find us if you want to follow. If you use Twitter, it's under Dr. Keven, DOCTOR, Keven, all one word, Dr. Keven. In fact, we just hit 46,000. I have 46,000 followers at the moment, so it's a nice size. And then you can follow me on LinkedIn, Keven Gazzara at LinkedIn, or you can follow my business partner Tim Galusha, Galusha. Follow Tim or Keven, and then we do have a YouTube. If you like 3 to 5 minute videos on lots of different things and providing feedback or coaching or measuring things. We've got some good videos there. And once again, it's just Magna Leadership. You can follow us there. So that's, a great, easy, and you can certainly get in touch with me directly, right? Everything is, you can find us connect through our website, magnaleadership.com, or you can send an email to me, Keven at magnaleadership.com. So there's easy ways to connect. I'm always interested in making connections, and if I can help you, I'm glad to have this kind of conversation with you. So here's the gift link. So if you want to get a copy of the task quotient assessment, which will identify your ideal mixture of what kind of tasks you need to do on a daily basis, only takes probably about 3 minutes to take the assessment. You'll get the report back instantaneously. You can go to https:// right, which is I think the normal web stuff, but it's Magna Leader, MAGNA leader.co, not com, .co, because it's a bit.ly link, /gift, GIFT. Right, so magnaleader.co /gift. In fact, I think you don't even need to put in HTTPS.
No, you can just type in
type
magnaleader.co
magnaleader.co and you'll get access. And for some reason, you shouldn't have any problem getting in there. We don't give that out to a lot of people, but we usually, when we do a webinar, if it's appropriate, we always like to thank the moderator.
Well, I really appreciate that gift, and actually the gift of everything you've shared today, Keven. It's been wonderful. You have, I think if someone really takes to heart the 5 tips that you got and you consolidated from the folks who guided you, but then you implemented them and found, hey, these really are the 5 things, that's really important. And the Google business page is an awesome tip. And this task quotient, or is it task quotient?
Yeah.
Assessment. In earlier conversations, it's been fascinating to listen to you, what a difference that has made for people. And of course, in your book, The Leader of Oz, you reference that. And the 3 characters you describe with that, it really brings it to life and shows how much more joy we can have in our work if our tasks are aligned with what we really enjoy doing most. So I encourage all my listeners to take advantage of that offer. And Keven, thank you again for joining me today. It has been just such a pleasure to get to talk to you and hear you share your experiences and your wisdom.
Good. Well, thanks, Meredith. I think that as a closing remark is, yes, is when you're tapping into your network, don't miss that golden opportunity to find the other consultants or other partners there, because they do have a need for you, and you probably have a gold mine sitting there that you probably haven't thought about. And fortunately, we discovered it early, but we could have discovered it a whole lot earlier. But I guess that's why you have to have sharing experiences with other people so they can get there faster than you can.
Excellent. That is a perfect way to close. Thank you for adding that.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strong for Performance podcast. Now head over to growstrongleaders.com to learn how our tools can increase your impact with clients and expand your business. And while you're there, grab our free ebook, The 5 Secrets to Getting Better at Anything. Until next time, I'm Meredith Bell. Make it a great day.